So here we are again, messing with the wiring on the Humvee. And let me show you a little bit about what we're going to try to accomplish today. As you can see on the back of the Hummer, back of the motor I guess, I got a lot of wires just kind of hanging around the trans tunnel, laying on top of the transmission, way too close to the exhaust. I've got some relays that were put in here. I don't really like the way this is done, and then what I don't really don't like is how some of the wires are running through the hole in the passenger seat, just out kind of in the footwell, and then back into my 12-volt battery. So I've got the 12-volt system there, the 24-volt system there, the 12-volt system here, and I've just got to go through and clean a lot of this up. I've got grommets and waterproof relays and things that I want to put in place of what's here. I want to reorganize it a lot. I've disconnected all the batteries to make sure I don't fry something. But I'm going to go ahead and start working on this. I'll show you real quick kind of what I got, and I'll put links in the description to a lot of it. So if you want to use any of this, you're more than welcome to. So these are the relays. It's the relay harness. It's a Hella relay harness, like a weather pack kind of. And then I have the Hella relays that are, I've used these before. They're really nice. They're completely, I don't know if you'd say waterproof or water resistant, but they're definitely better than a regular old relay. They mount up, stainless steel, and then they've got the relay up here, so the harness just literally clicks into place once you've wired it up. They make 12 volt and 24 volt. And then I got a lot of these inline fuses, just to make sure I've got enough of that. Got a lot of stuff down in here. Let me see if I can't move some of this out of the way. Oh yeah, I got these really cool 100 amp breakers. So I'll put these under the dash with my fuse panels. That way my fuse panels are rated up to 100 amps, and these are 100 amp Blue Sea Systems fuse, what the heck, circuit breakers, that's right. So if it ever overloads, instead of having to replace a huge 100 amp fuse, I just reset the breaker. And then down here at the bottom, I don't want all this stuff falling all over the place. I've got these fuse blocks that are, again, Blue Sea Systems. Blue Sea Systems makes a lot of boat stuff, so just really high quality. This one has a ground block included in it. It's got a place to hold some extra fuses. And this is just your basic blade fuse panel, fuse block. These will go under the dash. And I'll have one for 12 volt and one for 24 volt. So I'll have some switched ignition 12 volt and 24 volt sources. And that's really it. So that's what I'm messing with. I will put links to most of this stuff in the description if you want to buy any of it. And I'll go ahead and get started. All right, so the wiring's going good, but I wanted to show you something. So I'm taking out that relay that I showed you just a second ago, and I'm putting in a Hella waterproof relay. Now the problem here is these relays come with an 87 and an 87A port or connector, which means that when the truck is just sitting there, I've got 12 volts of power sitting at one of the wires, and then when I turn it on, the relay switches over to turn on the fuel pump. Well, when the truck's just sitting here, I don't want 12 volts just going to a random wire. And so I just learned that you can take out the insulation off the back. You just kind of put a flathead screwdriver in there, pull it out, and then right here, I don't know if you can see that, this little tab locks them in. So when you push it in, kind of see there and there, push it in and it locks. So underneath, when you pull this red out, you put a really small flathead screwdriver in, you flatten this tab, and then it literally just slides out the top. And now I don't have to worry about 12 volts just dangling from the relay. So just figured that out with these awesome relay harnesses. So just thought I'd share it. So I want to show you real quick how to, what I would consider properly loom a wiring harness. So I've got this one really cleaned up. It's looking nice. This has to go into the dash, so it's going to come from under the truck. So I've split it out. What I want to show you is when you put loom on, if you don't do it correctly, it can slide back and forth or even come off. So what you have to do is get your electrical tape, get as close to where you want the joint, and go around it once and kind of leave it hanging at the bottom. Now take the split of your loom and slide it over to where that tape, that electrical tape, I'm trying to get it on camera here, bear with me. Come on. Is the tape will actually go through the slit of the loom. And so now the wire is wrapped up and the loom is on top of the tape, and so now all you gotta do is wrap the loom like this, and the wire actually holds the loom. The wire and the tape together actually hold the loom. Now I'll put a little bit more tape on the actual joint itself. Let me cut this and I'll show you a little bit of what I mean. And so now if I try to pull this away, I can't, because that inside tape is wrapped within the gap of the loom. So now it's completely secure, and I just continue to push the wire down into the loom. Come on. And I'll go about every 8 inches and do a wrap and do a wrap and do a wrap, and I'll probably try to tape this T up a little bit better so it doesn't wiggle around so much and have that big gaping opening. But that's how you correctly wrap loom around wires. You wrap the wire first, then as the wire's hanging, put the slit of the loom over the wire, and then wrap the tape around the loom so the wire is actually holding the loom where it needs to be. Alright, so we are back. This is actually day 3. I know this video is kind of cut up a lot, but when I'm doing the wiring, I kind of like get in the zone and just focus on doing the wiring right, and it's so tedious and takes forever. So this is actually day 3 of me wiring the Hummer, and I'll kind of go over with you what I've done, what I'm planning on doing to finish up, because today I should be able to get it knocked out and be ready to go, and then I'm going to start working on the fuel tank, which is a new thing that came up, and I'll kind of walk you through how I'm going to do that. So I've got this all rewired, loomed. The green wire is for the oil pressure. I haven't got the gauge or the sender in yet. I had planned on using the original one that was on the 6.2, but when I hooked it up, it didn't work, as you saw a little earlier in this video, because I wanted to use all of the original gauges. Well, now what I'm gonna do is everything engine related will be 12 volt. Everything else in the Hummer will be 24. So I've got an oil pressure gauge coming, a water temp gauge coming, and then I'm gonna do a 12 volt fuel gauge with the 12 volt sender out of a civilian Hummer. I've got the 24 volt gauge still here. I've done a lot of wiring underneath. I don't know if you can see that. Let me turn on a light. Do I have a light? Yeah. So I've got 2 fuse panels. I've got a 12 volt, 12 outlet, I don't know, 12 wire, and then I've got a 24 volt 6 wire over there, and I've got to do something about the hole from the computer or whatever the 6.2 was, and I've got some ideas on how to do that, but right now I'm just kind of getting everything set up, wiring it the way I want. The engine, have that reloomed. I kind of reran some of the wires. That random orange wire is going to be a new water temp sensor that I'm going to tap into the water pump, and that's really where I'm at right now. So I've rerun most all of the wires. I've disconnected all the batteries because I didn't want the thing to burn to the ground. I've taken out all the wires that were run from the front box to the rear box. I've got to plug these holes that the mechanic put in. I've got these wires run for this is going to be the fuel pump relay back to the fuel pump, but I do not have the fuel pump wire run, and just a lot going on in here. So today I'm hoping to get the feed wire from 24 volts run up and powering all of the lights, turn signals, all of that, and then I'm going to individually wire the wiper motor there, and the fan controller right there. So the fan and the wiper motor are really the only 24 volt items outside of the lights, the brake lights, the turn signal, all that, and all the brake lights and turn signal and all that is one wire. So when I activate that wire, all that'll be good. But I don't want to activate the wire that feeds the fan and the wiper motor, because it also activates all the gauges and a bunch of other stuff that I'm not going to use, and I don't want those 24 volt wires hot and just hanging out behind the dash. So I'm gonna do that today, and then I'm also gonna run the 12 volt from the alternator. I did put in the new alternator, the 145 volt, not 145 volt, 145 amp AC Delco alternator. You have to run that one because it's active by a 12 volt ignition source, whereas the other one's just activated by a computer, and I don't have the computer. So I switched to this one, but I gotta run from right here on this stud, a 10 gauge 12 volt wire inside under the dash, and then hook it to the ignition of the Hummer, which goes in right here, and that way I can turn on and turn off the 12 volt stuff. So that's what I'm working on today. Quick update. I'm gonna get to it and I'll show you some stuff once I finish up.